Welcome back to the table. Today we're tackling a giant game experience so big, in fact, that I had to bring Jeremy Howard all the way down
The big guys.
Just to talk about this game. This is Perserverance, Castaway Chronicles, episodes 1 and 2 from Mind Clash Games. Before we get started, really quick, I want to say Mind Clash always kind of takes risks and pushes the limits, and taking a concept like this where they put literally two different but similar games in a one box.
It's absolutely insane that they're doing this. This is like going for it. Like, this is going all for it. Like their recent projects are like just going big. So I was really excited about this. I mean, I love dinosaurs growing up. I like the futuristic look of this game. So it's like sci-fi
the theme is cool.
You know, they really tried to go for this on Kickstarter. I was like, what am I going to get? Like, I still have to see all this stuff. Like, I was like, man, what are we going to get? So what do we have here?
Yeah, so we have, like I said, episode 1 and 2. Now, these games are tied together both thematically and to a certain point mechanically, although they are different games. The whole concept is you're on a cruise, you wash up on this land that you don't, it's a fantasy land, basically, where there are dinosaurs running amok. So
you made fantasy land sound like it was full of candy and happiness. There was rides there. There was fair rides.
Somebody giving out cotton candy. No, not that kind of fantasy.
This is more Gilligan's Island type stuff.
More like sci-fi fantasy mix, whatever. But there are dinosaurs and all these other like sci-fi elements. And episode 1 takes place shortly after your cruise ship has crashed, when you are basically scrambling onto the beach, trying to salvage what you can and protect yourself from dinosaur attacks. Episode 2 takes place later, after you've established a civilization. Now you're kind of trying to figure out where you are, go out and explore the world. And because of that, they are different games. We thought we would kind of talk about each one of them individually, and then a little bit about the connective experience of the two. So, so episode 1.
So episode 1, this game, and it's basically is a dice draft, and you have a pool of dice, some of your dice, some neutral dice, and then other players' dice. And you're going to be placing them out onto these worker placement spots that match or are wide open. They're blank.
Yeah, all these spots here.
Okay, so what you're actually trying to do in the game is you're trying to get a whole bunch of followers. You also have these people down here that are like your leaders there. You're going to be trying to influence them. You're also going to be sending out troops here to kind of ward off these dinosaurs. That's part of the game. You even go off on adventures. You're doing all kinds of stuff.
But so it's all for the likes.
It's all for the
likes, which is kind of...
Hey, man, come with me, man. I know what I'm doing over here.
So it's true. It's like Lost, right? We've all seen Lost. Like, who's going to be the leader?
Playing the game, right?
So you're trying to effectively become the leader by collecting the most likes. And you're going to do that through all these different mechanics. Of course, like Jeremy said, you have the crewmates from the original cruise ship you were on. Each one of these is going to get assigned to an action and kind of tie in to that action. And there's a preset version. You can mix them up for a different game experience. Each one of these actions is thematically different, and they're kind of tied to these rows. So each represents kind of a different civilization. So as you're placing dice into these, you're not only taking the actions, you're also gaining presence there by placing your colored dice, by placing your little buildings in that area, and effectively by placing your leader potentially in that zone as well. You're trying to build up area control in each one of these 4 areas in order to, during the assembly phase, kind of score the most votes, which turn into likes from people. So that's an overhead view.
Yeah, that's an overhead view. And the big one is the thematic part, of course, is the dinosaurs come in. I must be of a certain age. Gilligan's Island, Land of the Lost. What? I mean,
I know Land of the Lost.
Okay, of a certain age, folks. Land of the Lost, really cool. Anyway, so when you do place your dice, you're going to have these spots on the side that are going to bring in dinosaurs. So as soon as I place this one on here, I'm going to be putting out one of those brontosaurus, allosaurus-looking guys, and then a raptor. And what will happen is eventually they will fill up, because just by placing a die, you're going to be putting out a dinosaur each time. And as things get more volatile and dangerous, you're going to even be rolling these dice right here and rolling them, and you're going to be putting more dinosaurs out. Sometimes 2 or 3. So you have a looming threat. But you're trying to build up a kind of a fortress, and over here, let's say specifically for the protection area, you can put up walls, you can put up traps, or if you go to the military part, you can actually put out your troops. So you have opportunities to prepare, whether for resources for your place and spread yourself around, or for the eventual attack that's coming.
Yeah, I would say that's the big form of tension in episode 1 is, when is that dinosaur attack going to trigger? Because when you place dice in an area, the dinosaurs have to go into that area. So if you're looking at an area that has a lot of dinosaurs, like we're looking over here in the sustenance area, There are a lot of dinosaurs in there, and there is very little left to defend this. So
I was going to say, like this one here, I just placed those 2 dice while I was talking. That's 3 of those 7 spaces. So like that pressure's there. There's barely anybody to defend there. So
so you could cause an attack where you want it to go by taking an action. Or conversely, you might want to avoid, even though like this action looks really good, it's going to cause an attack. And if you're the one that triggers the attack, everybody that's there stands to lose buildings. You stand to potentially lose victory points. However, if you are well guarded, if you have a bunch of soldiers there, triggering that attack can be beneficial because if you kill those dinosaurs as they invade, you actually score more points. So I think that's a running tension around the board is like, if I see an area about to fill up, I want to take the military action a bunch, put a bunch of guys out there and be ready to fight and defend them off. Of course, now, other players are hesitant to go there because they don't want to feed me points, right?
And that's a way to do it. You kind of want to block people off and like put pressure on them. Hey, that place is unguarded and it's only you, because when you do resolve these things, you're going to be resolving a die to roll for the wall, so the wall can help you. You're going to be rolling. You have traps that you're going to be placing face down.
Yeah.
When you resolve those, you flip it over and it could match or not match. So you got to be kind of predictive about that. And then you're just going to go knock these down compared to whether you have strong troops or weaker troops out there. And you're going to be resolving this stuff with dice. So you eventually have, you're going to have this big event that's going to happen here. And they even have a board that you get benefits for the more you contribute to these battles.
Which is a huge thing too, because this is a resource collection game. So you're trying to get salvage, you're trying to get food, you're trying to get these story tokens to influence the officers, but also everyone has a player board here, which is going to have tracks, and you have your safeguard track, your valor track. These are resources that you're going to gain during the game that you can spend on combat rewards. So again, winning combat isn't really helpful if you don't have a lot of valor or safeguard to spend on these rewards. And you're going to have a number of these rewards every game. So every time you play, you can earn different rewards.
Yeah, I was going to say, some of them are locked out. So you have like 3 that are locked out.
Right.
So you are going to have a little bit of that. One thing I think we should add, because there's a lot of stuff here.
Sure.
We're going to have this thing called an assembly, but we also have these adventures. And you can donate these patrol cards that you can go out on, which kind of gives a little bit more of the theme, because you're going to see people fighting dinosaurs, running off into distant lands. That's your thematic look of the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I see some more of the theme. And you can go through there, and there's little decks for the guys, and you get resources, whether you win or not. So it's kind of a interesting little thing that's going on.
Well, it's funny that you brought this up, because I think that the patrols are cool. And although there is a lot going on that I like here, I think that the patrol, this whole concept, I think is a little weak, because really you're just getting a card and it's like, oh, I'm just doing it. Okay, and I'm getting rewards. Like there was not as much thematic tie-in of these patrols.
I think visually it is. That's it.
Right, but there's nothing really like to discover. Right. You're not like drawing a patrol card and like, oh, this is like something really neat is happening. It's just like, okay, spend these things to get these things. Every patrol card is kind of the same. I think that was a missed opportunity for a game that is so thematic to interject just a little bit of narrative into your own personal game of like, oh, well, here's like the cool things that I did. Here's like a timeline of all the cool patrols I went on, sure. But like they don't really have any like flavor text or mechanical bonuses or decisions to make. Do you want to go this way or that way?
Okay.
I think that would have been a really cool addition, honestly. But
I should say it looks cool.
Right.
I agree with what you're saying, that it's not, that's it. I think one of the weaker points for me in this game is how the combat is resolved. I like the fact that you can place guys on there and they kind of line up with the people and they kind of take them out. But I do not like that most of the stuff is resolved by dice. That's one of the things I don't like in the game. So specifically, if you have traps that match and traps that don't, you roll a die anyway. And if you get the 2 follower ones, the people who actually kill them and they match, they get valor or they get the defense or whatever, and they also get to take out the dinosaur, giving them a follower. But you can also get a benefit if you don't match. I don't like that.
Right.
I'd rather have it be yes or no. If I got it right, 50-50, yes.
Now, there is a deterministic mode you can play that uses some extra components that lets you actually not roll the dice. You can use a board and like make some decisions as for like when you lose troops in battle, for when you win combat and things like that. For me, I think...
Actually, I just want to cut you off and say that, I'm fine with that. But I always like to play games as intended.
Well, that's what I was about to say, actually.
I don't like house rule, and this is not particularly a house rule. It's offered to you. It's just way in the back of the book, so I don't even know if I would even,
I'd rather use right.
So I'm just saying, like, that's one of those things like that. This game can also be, a bit cutthroat with the dice. So if you ever, So if you don't like that kind of stuff, you got to watch out for it. It works sometimes it doesn't. But there's a politics action where you can switch out dice, whether you switch them out here so that you can get better area control for this stuff for influence, or you can switch them out in the pool, because if you take someone else's dice, which you will eventually have to, you will lose followers for that. So it's a beat up kind of incentive that you're going to have to be aware of.
Now, before we score episode 1, I want to talk a little bit about my major con for the game.
Okay.
Because I do like what episode 1 is doing. I like that idea of dice placement in order to control the area, and I like you could add more of your colored dice into the pool so people are forced to place your dice, giving you control. That feels fun. The combat feels fun. But the game can just slow down.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what you're doing is just getting resources and spending them. There's not really a ramp up. And if people are playing very conservatively and safely, you go a long time sometimes between dinosaur attacks. And that's the fun of the game. And you have like this leader figure, and you could put like a leader out, and you could like put a bunch of guys out. And then the dinosaur attack comes like 6 turns later, and you're just sitting there waiting for a dinosaur attack. That's maybe my biggest criticism of episode 1. I feel like it drags.
Yeah, I feel like it does.
If I'm being
drag.
fair.
Overall, I feel like it drags. I don't, just basically, as you can tell, I'm not really a big fan of what's going on with dice as far as that stuff goes. As you go and do these adventures, if you go across, you got to roll a die to see if some of your guys survive. I get it thematically. Somebody's got to go out. They got to risk their lives. I get it. It just didn't work for me. I also do not like this. So first and second place, I don't know what it is. I don't like the second place stuff in this game, because usually everybody who takes these benefits, when we get to an assembly part of the game, you're going to be adding things up for your control for this, and then you'll be getting votes and you'll be turning them into points on here, followers on this board. We kind of didn't go through that too much. But what happens is if you control these things, you're going to either take these votes that are going to give you, they're going to turn into points. Of course, you're going to take this if you're dominating this. But the second person gets a couple resources. I mean, most of the time, that's not that good. Most of the time, you're going to take the votes.
Right, you could choose not to get the votes. And it's like, well, I'm not going to
get the votes.
Why would I not get the votes?
Yeah.
You want the votes. The votes are worth a lot of points.
So
that's the whole game. Yeah.
It just feels sort of useless.
You worked hard for these votes.
Yeah. Now, this is consistent throughout, and I'll have feedback on this over here too, so I'll just kind of cut this out. Is this right here, these officers, sometimes I've played several games where nobody even touches those until they find out somebody's benefiting from them.
Yeah.
Now, they do give you scoring specific if you are leading them, but I do find that it actually takes away from a game that doesn't have a lot of turns.
Yeah, and it depends too. Like I said, these can be random. So sometimes you could get a synergy that really helps, and people are really hammering one of them and like ignoring the other 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, that can definitely happen. Overall, though, what would you say score-wise for episode 1?
So this is a tough one. We're going to get into number 2 pretty as well, but I find this game is just okay. I find this part right here, game 1, I'm going to give it about a 6.
I was going to say 5 actually for me. And again, not because I think that this is a bad game. It's tough to talk about
because this game is terrible, Ryan.
No, I actually quite enjoyed my plays of it, but it doesn't hold up when you compare a lot of what you're doing in this game to what you're doing in episode 2. And when we're talking about the theme of this game, I feel like episode 2 does what this game promised me.
You are lived in this game.
Right. Episode 1 feels like I've played and I was like, this isn't what I wanted from this game. But episode 2 has that. So it's difficult to, like, if I'd played this separately, maybe my score would be a 6, maybe even a 7, because I do still have some issues with it. But a lot of what you're doing in this game, I think, is actually done better in episode 2, honestly.
So in episode 2, you start off with your character being way more developed. Now you are a full board leader.
Let's look at these side by side. So, there's so much more happening.
That's the game I want right here. So this is the game I want. This game right here, in this game, you're going to have tech trees. So now when you use those guys and you're giving them influence, you're going to gain more things on your board. Level 1, level 2, level 3. So now this is different here, and it's less. This here, now your influence officer, you get something in return, like something big. And you want to get your board more diverse, because out here, I will say one thing, the iconography is consistent as you move over
I was going to talk about that too.
So the things that we're talking about are almost exactly the same with more theme. Well, the theme of this one is going to be adventuring out. So you're still going to have the settlements that you're trying to do out here, but now you're going to have these camps that are out here as well, and you're trying to expand out against these dinosaurs. Now, what they do is they have an action called the adventure. Well, you'll go fight dinosaurs out there and try to clear these off. And when you clear these off, you'll go through adventures out here and flip these tiles and open them up and be more. You'll even have outposts that come out here that become more worker spots that you can interact with out here as well. But there is a threat in this game. You're going to have rally points when you take these adventures or go on these tiles out here, and you're going to flip this card out, whether it's somebody else's post or not. You're going to flip this card over, and they have to deal with these income defense threats. And you have to put watchtowers out there, so you don't have to put up walls anymore. Now you're putting out watchtowers out there to kind of help, and you're using resources on your board to fight off the threats that are coming on here. So you have to deal with these with the watchtower or with your post. You're going to be fighting these things off, and if you don't, they'll stay on your board and they'll bother you. So this is one of those threats that's in the game, and it gives it high player interaction. It's a lot.
It's a lot more. I mean, it takes, like, this is what I wanted from the patrol in episode 1. Like, you're actually out on a map. You're doing exciting things. You're uncovering new tiles. You're revealing things. You're putting out these outposts.
You're getting glowberries.
You're getting a whole new resource. Those are cool. That's a cool resource.
You're getting glowberries.
And that's what I was saying. Like, it's difficult after playing 2 to go back to 1 and be like, okay, well, I'm just going on a patrol. When this patrol action, the whole sustenance board, is replaced by this better version of the action, adventuring and gathering, which just feel more satisfying. Like, you're not having to wait for dinosaurs to come to you.
We've gotten more tech. We're more established. Now we're taking dinosaurs, and when we defeat these dinosaurs, we bring them back on our board. We can keep these dinosaurs in here, turn them into different things. Like, we can turn them in for stuff, more troops. So we're like learning more about the environment. Now the adventure cards seem a little bit better. Like, so overall, this feels like more strategy. Maybe it's because it is heavier that I'm more into it.
It's definitely heavier than episode 1.
I don't necessarily know if
there's a lot more going on.
My hang up, but that's the way I feel about this one. As you can see, there's like a temple out there. You get a temple adventure card to go out there. So I guess you're finding the mysterious temple and stuff like that. But
it even just sounds more exciting talking about episode 2, to be totally honest.
But this is not without flaw, okay? So this one here, it's way more cutthroat. Like, you could punish the heck out of someone. So, for example, in the beginning of the setup, you'll only have one of these out here. So some person has to be out here. The problem is if anybody takes this adventure action, the only spot that they can put this rally marker and have to deal with it is that person. So if you want to you could get picked on and pounded at the beginning of the game, and for a while, if nobody decides to go out and adventure out and open up this board anymore and take on that risk. Even if you have an outpost, things like that, of that nature, you can get those overrun, and when they're overrun, nobody can use them. And this stuff, man, I mean, if you don't have a defense and a watchtower, some of these, as you get further out, get harder and harder to defend. You know what range you need to defend, but it's still just a little too punishing sometimes if you don't play it right.
I agree it can be punishing, but episode 1 can be punishing in different ways. Episode 1, you can be punished because the dinosaur attack just happens to trigger at the wrong time. In episode 2, you can prepare, I think, for the punishing moments a little better. And a lot of the times I think that you are getting punished. Sure, people can pick on you and it feels bad. And that does feel bad.
It does feel bad.
But also, you if you're caught unprepared out there, that's when you really feel punished. So you got to prepare. I think it's easier to prepare. Like, for example, when you're placing your leader in episode 1, your leader is out there. And they're just out there. You don't get your leader back until that fight triggers. And I think you have more control over your leader and more ability to level up your leader and just more to do with your leader in episode 2, right?
Yeah. I mean, and this is another thing. Like, the things I like are also things that I'm like kind of nitpicking at, because also you are going to have a bear of an upload front and try to figure out what ones are necessary.
That is a lot.
That's the key. Is like, are these necessary? They sound cool, but are they necessary? And that's what you're going to find out. Like, even capturing the dinosaurs, there's really one action I can think of off the top of my head that you can turn in this, and I'm like, what else are they for? I can't remember. It might be worth a follower or two.
Well, there's certain actions that let you.
But there are certain actions here. But it just, like, what thematically, what this ends up being is not so as exciting for me. That's the thing. There's just little things that I like, and at the same time, like, but this is this.
I mean, it's not a perfect. I would say that neither one is a perfect game. But I
like it a lot. That's the thing.
I do. I do like both games, and I like the thematic consistency. You mentioned this earlier. Also, the mechanical consistency between the two games really helps as well.
Yes.
If you've played 1, you can play 2 without much more teach.
Just one spot here, that adventure part. You just need to know what's going to go on here, and then how you're going to prepare for it, and that's it. Like, everything else is like pretty much icon consistent.
Yeah, but episode 2 is more punishing.
Right. And
But
it's
that
more
also makes it a tighter game, I think. There's less blanks. Like a lot of these spots in episode 1, you can use any die for.
No, yeah, this
in
one
episode
is
2,
like
it's much more specialized.
specific.
You have to have the backpack to adventure.
Yeah.
You don't really have an option
It's
there.
just a more advanced game, right?
Right, it is.
It's just
I
more
think
advanced
that's it. It's a more advanced game, but you still have the things I loved about episode 1, like the politics element, the slipping your die into the mix, influencing the different crew members. Plus, there's still even more dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Even more of the things I love from episode 1 are in episode 2. So I like episode 2 better. If I was rating episode 2 alone, this would be a 7.5.
Okay, so for me, I actually just a tad stronger than you. I'm going to give this one an 8. I like this one quite a bit. This is my weight, and I'm not saying that as a discount to this. Like I think that's a good medium weight game. It's a medium weight game itself, but this is a little bit more towards my weight, just as a whole. And I do like the interesting thematic choice here. Like the dinosaurs do come down. They're dangerous. There's dangerous dinosaurs. So they do come to you and they're trying to like raid your outpost. You get to put on a cool little watchtower, things like that. Yeah. So it's got these little touches that I like gameplay wise.
But see, here's the thing, and this is where it gets kind of crazy for me, right?
Where are you at here?
Well,
say
so
something crazy, Ryan.
Looking at both of these games as individual games is one thing. But then when I actually put them together as one game and I look at everything the thematic consistency from these games, the ability to tell a story over the campaign mode, where you're going to be playing these games, earning achievements that will tuck under your board, and these achievements carry over from game to game. That's so cool.
Okay.
The packaging of this game, like I know it's a little bit of production, but
crazy.
The fact that you can grab a tray and like everything you need for episode 1 is in a tray. Put it away. Everything you need for episode 2 is in another tray. Everything
it's so
you need,
separate. Even the resources that look different, they look slightly different. The stories look the same, but that salvage changes. So like there are different little tweaks that they have. See, if you look at this, I bet you didn't know that. If you look at that,
it's slightly the salvage cards.
So they're all
a little
separate.
different.
They're separate. Even the stories have little separate pictures on here. I bet you didn't know that either.
Right.
All right. So they're little details. They got the details down. They got the theme down. They got the story down. I'm already in just from this story. They got a lore book. All that's there. But what does it come down to for me? I'm going to give this game a 7. I'm literally going to take the average of the two scores because that's how I feel about it. It is somewhere in the middle as a product.
Yeah, it's definitely a 7 for me as well. Like I said, a 7.5 for this game. And there's some ups and downs. Like I would play episode 2 way more. But I do want to say a lot of people have been maybe a little harsher on this game because this is a Mind Clash game. So let's say that. Mind Clash is a phenomenal team. They've put out some great games. And I think people not every Mind Clash game can be better than the Mind Clash game that came out. They made Anachrony.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at Perserverance, people are like, well, it's no Anachrony.
Right.
Yeah, but like I cannot judge a game based on if it's better than Anachrony. So I still think that this is a very good game. It doesn't deserve a lot of like the hate it's getting for not being Mind Clash's best game, right? I don't know if you feel the same way.
I just realized that it's all about pedigree, and when you have great games, people are gonna compare them to the others, right?
Yeah.
And this game, it's just in the middle for me as far as like how I like it, but I'm looking forward to more content from it.
That's the thing.
I should say, because we know there's going to be more content, I should mention the solo mode. So part of the reason why I think this is still at a 7 is because of the solo mode. There are errors in the rule book. This is a lot of bear up front. It's going to slog you down. It does get better. It's got this interesting little card selection system where you can sometimes do the cross or you can do the other. It tells you what dice order you need to be in. I've played it several times. As a matter of fact, it was the most I played of this game. And I just found it it still was a little confusing 4 or 5 plays in. But that's David Turczi stuff. You gotta get in. You gotta be dedicated to it. But it works for both sides. There's even a campaign mode in here. I got kind of tired of it right away. I kind of wasn't feeling that. So that's why I'm staying at a 7. We can't cover everything.
I was gonna say the same thing. This is a 7 for me because there was an expectation set on this game, right? Yeah. You play episode 1. You build up your thing. Yeah. I expected more of a campaign connection. More of I wanted the things I did in episode 1 to impact episode 2. If all of us put all of our buildings in protection, I would like protection to start with a bone. The decisions we make early should affect and that's maybe an expectations thing. I thought that was going to be the case. All that carries over are those achievements that give you a little bit of a flavor for your character.
And I honestly, I don't want to say this but I wish there was another board that looked like my village or my society.
Right,
like, I know.
right.
Like,
I do.
This board is already big enough.
Sure.
But I'm saying, like, what does my civilization look like for me inside the settlement?
I wanted
I don't know.
the decisions I made in 1 to affect 2 more. Now, that being said, we do know that there's episodes 3 and 4 coming out.
3 and 4.
So I don't know what the campaign mode is going to look like. It's not beyond salvageable of having like a episode 1, 2, 3, 4 campaign.
There's
right?
Chronobot and there's Chronos. So I've seen it develop. I've seen Turtsy go back at it, get in there and change some things up. So I expect people, everybody that's touched this game, every designer that touched this game, to go back and start thinking those things, and it may go back and readdress some of the things.
Right,
that
and so I could easily see this game after I play through 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. I can see this maybe elevated to an 8.
Oh yeah.
Or more if they can pull this off and introduce a campaign that carries me through all 4 in a really thematic, fun way. Then I will, I'll come back here and I will change my rating. Absolutely.
I'm already signed up for the 3rd and 4th because this is like I said, this is
sure.
a base, and I like from here to there I'm good.
Right.
So let's see.
The improvement from 1 to 2. 2 is such a better game. If 3 goes and then 4, 3 goes, man.
Right, it could have that. We just don't know, right?
And don't let my 7 score scare you away. Like that's better than average. This game is better than most games you're going to play this year.
7, that's it for me.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, like bring on episodes 3 and 4. That's all I got to say. So hopefully you have a pretty good concept now of what these games offer, whether this game is for you or not. There's a lot.
We unpacked a lot. It's big.
There's a lot in this game. Yeah. I mean, we can't talk about every single thing, but if you have specific questions that we didn't address, please leave them in the comments below. We will be in the comments. We'll be able to answer them. We've got a lot of experience with both episodes.
Yes.
So again, thank you so much for watching. This is Perseverance, episodes 1 and 2. And until we see you again, keep having fun at the table.
Take care.
Congratulations, you got to the end of one of our videos. Now, if you want more practice, just click on the video over here. It's another video. You might not have seen it yet, so click on it. If you don't want to do that, at least click on the subscription button below. That always helps us. And if you want notifications, please ring that bell.